Back once again for the renegade master. 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 Back once again for the renegade master.
Hello my renegades and welcome back, and we are back into Love is Blind season 6, and we are now on episode 6 with a continuation of the honeymoons. But before we get into it, as I always ask, please hit that subscribe button, please hit that notification button so we know I'm doing videos, and let's get back into this episode, shall we? So you know, they're all on their honeymoons, it's going okay, but you know, there's going to be some bumps in the road. All right, so we know that it looks like that Amy and Johnny have now consummated their engagement. Knew that was coming. Don't know if that will muddy the waters, but we'll see as time goes on. Brittany and Kenneth have their couples massage, and you see Jeramey and Laura doing archery. All I'm going to say is it's starting already, because Laura is basically saying that Jeramey cannot have any motorcycles, or he needs to stop wearing Hawaiian shirts. He turned around and said there was nothing that he wanted to change about her, but hey ho, Laura's started already. Laura has gone to the first stage of the nagging. They're on two different levels. That's how I'm seeing it. Them two are on completely two different levels. Jeramey has a very playful side and is quite high level when it comes to that playful side. Laura, not so much. In the pod, she was trying to be that way, but equating to the outside world and actually physically being in the distance and in front of Jeramey, it's not equating that way at all. But we shall continue. So Adi and Clay, I think, are having lunch somewhere, and they were talking about like her body and the fact that she puts in a lot of work to look the way that she does. So he said to her that he would not let her get out of shape. He said that he would tell Adi to get her ass in a motherfucking gym. My guy. If you said that to me, I would clap your clout straight from here to Timbuktu, mate. You could never. And I'm sorry, but Clay did not realise why that was so wrong. Even when Adi pulled him up on it, he did not realise what he said was quite wrong, because at the end of the day, her body will change as she gets older. She could end up being pregnant and getting a little bit better, but that's his motivation of getting her in a gym. Nah. Red flag number 2 for that one. I like the fact that AD did challenge him back, and basically we know that AD is taking therapy and it's working for her. Clay needs to get his ass in a therapist chair. Like, seriously needs to get into therapy. He needs to do something. He needs to literally work on his shit. I don't even know how he went on to this program and hasn't worked on himself in the slightest. Yeah. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So then you see Chelsea and Jimmy, they're at the beach, and basically she was nervous about Jimmy seeing her in her bathing suit. I'm just like, my girl, your physique looks better than Jimmy's. What the fuck are you worried about at the end of the day? It's the fact that Chelsea sat there trying to big up Jimmy and saying, oh, everybody's looking at him, and say, I don't know if she was joking or actually being serious, because I thought she could never be serious when she's saying that, because nah, that man looks as pasty as hell and he's got no shape to it. But hey ho, we'll move on. So you get to the point where actually everyone's getting ready, because all the other couples are going to meet. And Brittany point blank turns to Jimmy and says, well, I guess it's nice to meet you. And then says Jimmy is not who she was expecting physically, than how everybody was talking about him in the pods and saying, oh, Jimmy's this and Jimmy's that. I said, yeah. But don't forget, Brittany was friends with Jessica. So she saw the fallout from Jimmy. So Jimmy is not going to endear himself to her just yet. All the other women got completely jealous because Kenneth is completely attentive to Brittany and her needs, and she absolutely loves it, and she feels so safe with him. And some of the other women commented as well that even they've just met him for that night, they do feel safe with him as well. Then it went on to the sexual talk, and Laura was gassing up Jeramey about him having big hands and big feet. I was like, okay. That's when Amy got up and left to go find her man. I was like, okay. And Chelsea then started to gas fucking Jimmy, saying how his thing was huge. Like literally huge, and saying that she needed 2 hands. And I was like, my girl, stop. My girl, stop. Do you remember that one person that you always used to go to school with, and then when if you're in a group of friends, you'll all be chatting about certain things that you may have experienced or experimented with sexually, but then they'll come out with the most outrageous fucking thing? That's Chelsea. Basically, Jimmy's there singing her praise, singing Chelsea's praises left, right and centre, and basically making it known that everything's natural between them. He bet his relationship is smoother than everyone else's. I was like, what planet is this guy on? Like, seriously? I think Jimmy was drunk that night. Like, seriously, he must have been, with the shit that he was doing and the shit that came out of his mouth, he must have been, like, really must have been. So then he then turns around to Clay and basically says that him and AD look gorgeous together, and AD is looking gorgeous as well. Again, Jimmy with the looks. That's what I want to tell you. Jimmy with the looks. He is disappointed with Chelsea. Like, seriously, he really is. But then when it quickly moved to Chelsea and Jimmy, basically all Jimmy wanted to know was what Chelsea had said about him to the girls. Everybody else is getting loved up and saying how they felt about each of their partners, but all Jimmy wanted to know was what Chelsea had spoke about to the girls in regards to him. Then he has the audacity to turn around and say that AD's stat. He's talking about her butt. This man had no filter. But then Chelsea, even though she then weren't comfortable with it, still turned around and put this man on blast like it was a jokey thing. Why did Chelsea not pull that man up then and there and say, what the fuck, you don't say them things about my friends at the end of the day? So then when she puts the man on blast, AD starts shaking her butt, and I'm like, AD, don't do that to this man, because that man literally looked like he wanted to take a piece out of her peach pie, to be fair, when AD started doing that. So then you see Chelsea's moved to the bar, and he goes over to AD and is having a chat with AD, and Chelsea's just right behind him, you know, at the bar. He gets her hand and spins her round, yeah, and she's getting more irate by the minute. And I'm like, why are you not going to pull your man up? Like, seriously, why get flopped up because you brought attention to what the fuck he said about AD at the end of the day? You didn't have to bring attention to that, because Jimmy shouldn't have opened his mouth and said that at the end of the day. She should have pulled his ass up on that shit. Go grab your man. Seriously, go grab your man. Chelsea go down with a couple of the other girls, getting more and more irate and more pissed as time goes on. And they're looking back at him still talking to AD, because he ain't even realised this girl's moved in the slightest. So then as AD's gone off to look for Clay, or I think she goes and joins the girls, I'm not too sure, Jimmy goes down to the girls where Chelsea is sitting, and basically starts having a conversation about the girls that in that group that he dated. And Chelsea is sitting there fuming. And I'm like, at this point, my guy, can you not see your woman's face? Are you not reading the actual room as to what the fuck is transpiring right here? Like, seriously, the way that woman's face settled into RBF was like, my guy, you really don't notice any changes or anything. He was just flying at the mouth. And then that's when I thought, he's got to be drunk. He can't be this much of an ass. He seriously can't be this much of an ass. But then I realised it's Jimmy. It's Jimmy. And all I can say is, this is your first night together. You should have pictured her. Maybe you wouldn't sit in there like a spank baboon's ass if you had a picture of her. At the end of the day, should have picked that man. And that's all I'm going to say. She should have picked that man. She should have. Because Jimmy's true little colours are starting to show right now. His little red flags are starting to wave left, right and centre. So you see AD and Kenneth having a talk basically. And AD's totally saying that she's obsessed with Clay. And Kenneth is like for the black love. So AD does ask Kenneth the question about him, if he's ever dated like a white girl before. And he says, no, this is the first time. But he really does like Brittany, and Brittany really does like him as well. So he was like, the test will come when they have to tackle outside influences. And AD did ask, but will Brittany be strong enough for that? And this is where I said in my previous episode that I liked the conversation that they brought to the forefront in terms of other people's attitudes around interracial dating, and what it would mean for Brittany if they did stay together, they did stay married, and then she subsequently had children, because they will be technically black children in that sense. So I love that conversation. I don't care what anybody says. I love the fact that they had that conversation and that they were live to that fact. But it's, as again, it's discussions that Kenneth and Brittany are going to have as time goes on. So Jimmy, as I noted, kept watching AD. Every time AD was walking past, doing whatever, Jimmy was watching her bunda like it was her talking to him. And I was like, my guy, you need to keep away from AD. Like, seriously, sort your shit out with Madam Fifi, because she's pissed at you. And within that is a situation occurred where AD was sitting on Clay's lap. And I think Clay was sitting with Jeramey. And I think she was sitting with Jimmy. And I don't know if it was anybody else. I think it was just them. So Jeramey jokingly turned around and said that Laura told him to do the being deep on AD, which meant 1, 2, but and Clay was like, how no, you ain't doing that to my woman. Like, seriously. So Laura then got pissed because of the fact that it was said as a joke, but didn't realise that Jeramey would actually go and take it into mixed company and say that, especially to AD, in front of her man. So she got hella pissed by that. Jeramey did apologise to Clay. And I was like, I think that was really taken out of context. Yeah, he shouldn't have said it in mixed company, but if you're making a joke out of it, yeah, and you're saying it to your man, you tell him what it means and not to say it to the person in question. The AD and Laura turned around and had a conversation because Laura was pretty pissed in the fact that he went and said what he said. And Laura was basically saying that it was a joke, and she told it to Jeramey. And AD was saying, well, you shouldn't really have told him that joke, because at the end of the day, it was between us girls, not between us girls and the men. And then, so then it wouldn't have got out to mixed company. And I kind of understood where AD was coming from on that. But she didn't really necessarily understand that her joke literally put her man in hot water. So when you see then Laura and Jeramey having a chat, Jeramey was talking to her. She got hella pissed with Jeramey, and Jeramey just wanted to leave at that point. He wanted to go home because he turned around and says that he doesn't know if he can handle Laura after that debacle. So he gets up and he does leave. Like, he literally moves and walks down the pathway. And I'm just gonna say, this is the problem now. Because Laura's not a playful person. Like, seriously not a playful person. So Jeramey kind of is. Laura's not on that level at all. So she runs the risk of constantly putting this man down, and he's literally going to look elsewhere. Like, he will look elsewhere. So then we get back to Chelsea and Jimmy and the drama of their fucking relationship that they shouldn't be in the first place. So they're in the hotel room, and basically she is getting mad at Jimmy, So she tells him why she was so upset and why she was so angry. She basically says that everyone was with their ladies and she was on her own. And then he did what he did with AD. She told him that you span her around after you'd made the comment about her butt. He said no, he didn't, but he did. He really did. And then she said that I was right behind you. I saw it. He goes, no, you weren't behind me. Yes, Jimmy, she was behind you. The gaslighting from you right now is unreal. So Chelsea turned around and says to Jimmy that it made her feel icky. Jimmy does not get it at all. So then she cries. Chelsea is crying, like literally crying, and I think her insecurities are now coming out. Yeah, Jimmy completely disconnected from her, like completely disconnected from her. So then after she's cried and sat down on the bed, the tears kind of magically disappear, and then she grabs his hand again and wants to try and make it up with him and stuff like that. He is quite dismissive. She gets upset again, and she's basically saying to him that her feelings were hurt, but then he turns it around on her. So then he turns around and says something to her and then completely walks out and leaves her sitting on the bed. I'm like, that's what you picked, Chelsea. That is what you picked. And the exits are neither here, they're neither there, and they're neither there. You do not get a safety harness and you do not breathe through a bag. Hi ho. But that's where that episode ended. But I'll be back soon with the next episodes. As I always say, my renegades, please hit that subscribe button. Please hit that notification button so when you know I'm on and doing videos. And I'll be back to grace you very soon. Peace out.